I want to start off saying that earlier when I had posted the thing with my name in the sidewalk, for the people that are in New York City, you already know that they have not done no construction around there, so I'm not talking to you. But the people, I have a lot of people, and this sort of bothered me a little bit, because I had people in Harlem, people from Brooklyn, and Manhattan ask me, did I put that in there? Listen, for those that are not in the city, I did not put that in there. Do not do no construction down there. I don't know how long it's been there. I know I've been probably living in the neighborhood for 6 years. So with that being said, I've never seen nothing going back and forth for 6 years. So that just drew my attention. So I wanted to point it out. And with me pointing that out, I did not draw it in there. I'm not going to be wasting my time with something, putting something in there and going through all that. That's going a little bit, that is mentally something's really, really wrong with you. I would never do nothing like that. So I wanted to share an experience with you to let you know so you can bear witness. And those that work around there or live in the city can already understand and know. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to point that out to you. All right. And with that being said, I want to talk about the metaphysical mindset and being in the world and the worldly mindset. Those that don't have an understanding only see things scientifically, and there's got to be some kind of explanation for this. And talk about the stars and the quasars and all this other stuff. All right, and the scientific point of how your mind is and how it works and functions versus the spiritual mindset, which a lot of the gospel people that talk about the gospel are scared to talk about the spiritual mindset of it, because you don't want people to think that you're mentally crazy, that something is wrong with you. So because of all this medical technological mindset that people have based the theory of life on, so it transgresses and comes against what the spiritual mindset is, bringing a lot of people into transgression. So we need to learn how to separate the two, because the spiritual mindset is more in tune with God, by God, from God, and of this world and this universe. All right, it keeps you on the straight and narrow on the path, and it lets you see deeper in front of you of who is who, what is what. All right, to discern the truth from a lie, because you're spiritually in tune. So that gives you 10 steps ahead of everybody else once you know and you keep yourself in that spiritual mindset. All right, because what's of the world and in the world, we need to understand one thing. Some of the things you can't change and the people you can't change, which is why I always say there's never, one bad seed. There's always a bad apple out of every bunch. So when you're spiritually in tune, you know how to discern and separate. When you're of the world, you're just going to have to, you think everything is logically, there's always some kind of logic or something. No, you're in the world right now. You have a metaphysical mindset that is a worldly mindset. So let's see what the word and everything has to say about stuff like this, because it does speak about this mindset. Philippines chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is gracious, if there is any excellence, if there is any worthy of praise, think about these things. Think about these things. These are the attributes of the characteristics of the Word and the Lord thy God. These are the characteristics that you should be able to notice. That is the word of God that he speaks of. So if you do not see these characteristics, then bam, it is the devil. You understand, the devil gives you a mindset that comes from the outside. It's a thought, it's something from the outside that is not of God. All right, a spiritual mindset is something within you, something that feeling and emotion, all right, that is positive and of love and of understanding and caring, all right, and of goodness, and everything that it just said right there, that comes from the inside, not from the outside. This is within you. Every time you think something bad, it's because something you said, something from the outside. So to learn to discern. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own understanding. Once again, I spoke of your own understanding. Your own understanding is what comes from the outside. You're trying to justify a means, trying to justify an action. There's nothing to be justified. You're in the world again. Let's get back, rewind, all right, get renewed of the mind and the spirit, and be spiritually set in mind, to have that mindset. Romans chapter 12 verse 2, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect, like the will of the Lord our God. And what is his will? The attributes of goodness, kindness, love, and becoming one within the grafted tree underneath the laws of the word thy God. Love thy God with all your heart. Love thy neighbor as yourself. Right. 1 Corinthians 13. And we impart this in words, not taught by humans in wisdom. All right. So I want to say this and impart in these words. All right. So understand what I'm about to read to you. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 13 through 16. And we impart this in words not taught by human wisdom, but taught by the Spirit, interpreting spiritual truths to those who are spiritual. I don't expect everybody to have a discernment and understand what I'm saying, but I ask you to pray and try to understand, because I am spiritually in tune and speaking to you spiritually, which is why there's a lot of debating going on, or people who don't have an understanding because they're not spiritually in the mindset to understand. The natural person does not accept the things of the Spirit of God, for they are folly to him. All right? They come as a stumbling block. They just don't get it because they're in the world and not of the Spirit. And he is not able to understand them because they are spiritually discerned. They are spiritually disconnected from them. Because if you're not in that mindset, seeking, searching, and trying to be a part of it by works, and spiritually in tune, because once you're spiritually in tune, it's going to show in your actions, your characteristics, your personality, and so on and so forth. The spiritual person judges all things, but his self to be judged by no one but the Lord thy God. Because when I sit down and I speak about atrocities and certain things, I'm speaking of them in a spiritual way to discern what is going on in the world that is driving it spiritually. For the one who has understanding, the mind of the Lord, so as to instruct him. But we have the mind of Yeshua, the Messiah. And with these words, I would like to leave you. But before I say these words, please have a clear understanding that I want to speak of, I speak and spoke of through these scriptures of how to discern the metaphysical and the worldly mindset from the spiritual mindset. So you can be of the spiritual mindset and walk thus of it and live it every day. Be spiritually in tune. Forget on what's on the outside. Let the world evolve or do what it needs to do, because those are the things that were foretold. And being of the world will make you disconnect from who you are inside and striving to be spiritually, taking you out of that spiritual mindset. Me and I myself have reason for confidence in flesh, and I'm reading out of Philippians chapter 3, verse 4 through 7. though me, myself, and I have reason for confidence in the flesh, also, if any other man thinks he is or has reason for confidence in the flesh, I have more. Circumcised I am on the 8th day, March the 8th, of the people of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew, born of Hebrews, as to the law, as the law is to the Pharisees, as to zeal a persecutor, as a zeal to a persecutor, of the church, as to righteousness, under the law blameless. But whatever I gained I accounted as loss for the sake of the Lord thy God in the Messiah. Remember, worldly mindset and the spiritual mindset.